The A in activity in great is about activities. And here, if we were talking about, you know, earlier on, the fact that it's very healthy to help them fill their lives with positive activities so that they can become competent and confident in those areas, that would be a great discussion. But at this stage, again, we're assuming that they're already going down the path where they're engaged in some negative activities. In other words, they've already decided that when they feel sad or lonely or insecure or bored, that drinking alcohol or taking a substance is something that they're experimenting with as an appropriate activity at that stage. So they may need to unlearn some things. And at this point, I'm actually going to read something to you. I'm going to read a poem. And what I want you to focus on is assume that your son or daughter is engaged in some behavior that's negative, it's addictive like. And understand that you're going to have to invest some time and energy with them to help them back out of that activity, that it may not happen overnight, and it may have to happen in stages. So, this is a poem called Autobiography in 5 Chapters. It's by someone named Portia Nelson. And as I read this, just look for the 5 chapters and look for how the person in the poem changes their behavior. And at first, it's really hard, but they get better at it as they practice. And if your son or daughter is engaged in something, understand that you may have to work with them for a while to back out of that behavior, those activities that go through these stages. So here we go. First, I walk down the street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I'm lost. I'm helpless. It isn't my fault. It takes forever to find a way out. Next, I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in the same place, but it isn't my fault. It still takes me a long time to get out. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it's there. I still fall in. It's a habit, but my eyes are open and I know where I am. It is my fault, so I get out immediately. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk, so I walk around it. And finally, I walk down another street. So you may have to help your teenager unlearn some activities and learn to walk down a different street. And finally, in teaching, it is part of your role as a parent to teach. But at this stage, if they're getting into trouble, if perhaps they're experimenting with drugs or alcohol, you need to get some help. You probably need somebody teaching you as well, because you may be getting into an area where you're no longer an expert. So you probably need to be getting a coach or a counselor or reading or studying or going to seminars and things like that. You also need to get them some help. They need to, be learning the fact that from other people other than you, but also with you, but other people as well, that they're on a trajectory which is taking them in a negative direction. But there are positive things they can do to do that. It could be a therapist, it could be a pastor. Hopefully you play a role in that. But again, like I said, you probably need some help. You may even consider at this point having them be part of one of those groups that has other kids like them who are also getting in trouble. We did that with Carter, and at first it was a little risky because we were scared that he's going to learn more bad things and this would take him in the wrong direction. It didn't turn out to be the case. I think what Carter would say is that from that group he was in, he saw one is there are some kids who had made some really bad decisions, and he was able to see how that had played out. So it helped him see that what the future result was going to be of some of the choices he was making. The other thing that was probably equally important is he saw that there were other teenagers like him. There were other teenagers who felt the same way he felt, who wanted to have close relationships with people and who felt the way he did and who had made choices to handle it that way. So that was just a tremendous, I think, boost for him to see that he wasn't alone and that it is okay not to be okay sometimes, but there's positive things that we can do, to work our way out of it. So here we're going to wrap up this section. And I'm going to go back and just read the 5 areas of being a great parent and just add one component to it, which is how God parents us with a combination of grace and truth, right? So as I read these statements, look for that. Look for where it shows up, in goals and boundaries. The fact that, God, through his grace and truth, reminds us that as parents, we should remain patient and kind and forgiving, even while we're enforcing consequences. And in terms of relationship, that we need to show our kid that we love them and we're proud of them, even when they screw up. In terms of example, that we're going to work on our own issues and we're going to, maintain our own self-control and model that and teach that to our kids. In terms of activities, we're going to encourage them to do the best they can in the things that they've been designed to do and that they choose to do. In teaching, that we're going to guide them forward toward God and pursue their heart with winsome coaching. So just see that as a wrap up on how to be a great parent. And I don't know about you, but there's probably some area in your life that you wanted to be great. For me, it was to play basketball. I wanted to be great at basketball, but I was only pretty good. I used to have dreams, literally, where I could, go cruising down the court and dunk at will. Used to have dreams that I was in the NBA, but I'll never be great at basketball. Many of you may wish you were great at playing the piano, and you may never be. Or you may wish that you could be a great heart surgeon, but you'll never be great at that. But in one of the most important roles you will have in your entire life, which is being a parent, you can be great. Now remember, that doesn't mean you're perfect. It just means you're intentional and you're proactive about it. And you're doing the best that you can one day at a time to be the best parent you can be.